We just celebrated 18 years of marriage.
Happy anniversary.
Happy
Beacha.
anniversary. So, with that, we thought we could think of 3 things that we would tell our younger newlywed selves, and hopefully you can glean from our advice. So, what would you say number 1 would be?
Not in any particular order,
Right.
but I think the first thing that I thought of, I tend to think a little more numbers related. And so the first thing I thought of was financially related and to invest. We were 20 and 19 when we got married, and really wish we would have started investing that 18 years ago. But I didn't know. And
Yeah.
so we didn't know any better. We didn't know what a 401k was or what an IRA was, or probably that those things even existed at that age. But I wish we would have. And so I think that would make things a lot easier for us at this age. So it's never too late to start investing.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a lot heavier of a task now, 18 years later.
Invest in before you have kids. But I would turn that, I know you said financial, money, but investing in your marriage, that could be financial. Putting money away, not just the honeymoon. Some people nowadays aren't even spending money on the honeymoon. So they just kind of get married and then keep working. And if you choose to do that, I would say then what are you doing for your 1-year anniversary? And some of that, if experiences cost money, but it's still those memories that you'll never get back.
Right.
Here we are 4 kids later and we're like, when can we have another honeymoon? So,
Well, I think there's something to be said around that. I mean, a honeymoon doesn't have to be extravagant to make memories. At that stage, in most scenarios, not every marriage starts off this way, but in most scenarios, if you don't have kids yet, you're probably less tied down to anything else in life, so you can have a little more of an extravagant honeymoon and go on the excursions and things like that. So in those scenarios, decide if you want to do that, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can still, I don't know why you would, but you could still have a honeymoon in like Wyoming or something. And I mean, I'm just saying, you could choose to do something that's less extravagant and just make the memories. Let's be real. What's the honeymoon really about anyway?
Okay.
You don't need to be
talking about
outside. Like,
No,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But kind of circling back to that for a second, investing in your marriage, investing in your finances, if I could even go back a little bit before the wedding and be like, have a fun wedding, but you don't have to worry about paying for everything for everyone who's going to be there. To use some of the money that we spent for our wedding, which was a great party, it was a great time, but to be able to take some of those things and be like, yeah, we don't need to provide dinner for everyone. Let's have the wedding at a different time of day. Or we don't have to get this crazy cake. Like, let's do something a little different. Like, and just reallocate those funds in different ways. That's something I would love to be able to go back and do and be like, because I look back now and I'm like, I don't even know what the cake tasted like.
We had a nice cake.
It was cool, but I don't know what it tasted
No,
like.
I know. I agree with you. We
Like,
spent way too much on the cake.
It was ridiculous.
But-
And so those are some of the things that I think about, like, kind of preventing myself from making, like, mistakes like that. Like, we could have done something better with that. We could have donated that money and it would have been better used than in that cake. And so those are just kind of the things that I think about. So
What's number 2 for you?
number 2 is to know that the time that you have is more valuable than anything that money can buy. And that's for 2 reasons. One, you never know how much time you're actually going to get. That can be for your own life, your marriage, your spouse's life. You never know how much time you're going to get, and you can never get more of it. And so you've got a set amount of time, and you don't know what it is, so you just have to savor it. You have to utilize every moment as best as you can, knowing that, some of that is going to be spent on the things that we have to do, sleep, eat, work, provide a living, but then all those spare moments that aren't already allocated, you have to take advantage of those.
Yeah. So if time is our most valuable asset as a married couple, and you insert the things like you said we have to do, what's left over in our time, and often our spouse gets our leftovers.
Right.
We're tired or burnt out. We don't want to talk. We don't want to hang out. We don't want to do anything. Instead, it's like, you don't know how much time you're going to have. You've got to keep investing, to go back to that word, and to your marriage, and that takes time.
It does. And to make sure that what you said about your spouse getting your leftovers, I mean, that's going to be the natural way it goes, but you have to still change your mindset on that too, and choose that you're not going to be giving your spouse your leftovers. That, think of it as, you would like write out a budget for your finances. You're going to put your tithe, you're going to put your savings at the top of your budget. Those have to come off the top to prepare, for your future and things like that. But if you have them at the bottom, you're always going to run out of money.
Right.
So if you have your time for your spouse allocated at the bottom of your time budget, you're always going to run out of time for your spouse. So you have to just kind of flip that and realize, like, my wife is going to get the first 10% of my time, or what, like, don't quote me on 10%, but they're going to get the top line of my time, basically. And that's going to be how I choose to allocate it and give it to them. Meaning, if they're getting the top line of your time, that means those other things that you have to do, they still have to fit in, but your mindset has to be like, okay, if my spouse is getting the top line of my time, I'm giving them the top line of my energy, the top line of my attention, everything.
Yeah, some practical ways I just thought of I can share. We meal plan. We've shared that on an episode recently that I was like, why is that marriage advice? But I don't know. I just have a dry erase calendar on the wall. Huge. It's really big. And I take it off the wall and erase it at the end of each month and set us up in the new month. And then that's how I meal plan. But I put all the activities. Everybody has their own color. So this, kid 1 has this color, kid 2, kid 3. So everyone knows what they're doing. But I bring that into this conversation because I look at that and there's also you and me, and so we don't get it to the end of the month and be like, we didn't go out, or we didn't spend time together, or we didn't, I look at the calendar and I literally write the word sitter when it's like, hey, we're going to go do this, even if it's just a dessert date or something, and we need to get a sitter, and we pre-plan the time that we're going to spend together.
Right.
That's one way. More practical day to day, we put everything on our digital calendar, on calendar, so that's the wall calendar that the family sees. But even on our phones, where the doctor's appointments and everything else, goes, it's also we know when we're going to sit down and record a podcast. It's on the calendar. We come to this meeting, but that's just, not everyone records a podcast. But if you want to, if you don't put it on the
calendar, it's not going to make it in.
Yeah,
that's how it works for us anyway.
A budget meeting is on the calendar. Our talk time, here we're going to sit down and look at our talk list and, our planning, our dreaming. It's on there, and I see that because then we can look forward to it. We planned your time. You're telling your time where to go. But then if things come up, one of our sons wears glasses and they broke, and I had to go get them fixed today, which, cut into our time. So if something has to move, then I'm moving that on the calendar to another day. I'm not canceling that time with you altogether.
Yeah,
so,
and
practical stuff. But.
And I think for us, the calendar is a really big tool. Our digital calendar is a really big tool for us, because what we've always said is, if you make it onto our digital calendar, that spot's secured for you. Obviously, emergencies pending, things like that. If something comes up, we will try to reschedule, but we're blocking our time out for you. And I think a great example of that in our lives right now is our small group that we've been doing for the last year
Yeah,
now.
probably.
Like we've probably been with them for about a year, and we've scaled it back to like a monthly game night or get together or something like that. And but we're very intentional about getting that on the calendar, and once it's on the calendar, we're not canceling that. Again, pending an emergency, kid getting sick,
Sure.
us getting sick, something like that, major thing happening. But that once it's on the calendar, that's really important to us. And so, yes, we can always move things and reschedule, but we have the mindset of like, if it gets there, it's important. And so we do the same thing with date nights and things like that. If it gets to our calendar, that means it's important. And, we're really doing our best to stick to that as much as we can.
Yeah, I think your point there is that we do that in a workplace. You're scheduling meetings, you sit with friends, like you don't drop the ball. Are you doing that for your spouse
Right.
and in your marriage and being intentional because of that valuable time that you have together,
Yeah.
or should have together?
Exactly. What's number 3?
3 is about time again, but take time to listen.
Okay.
Take time to listen to each other.
So
and
it's
the
really
communication.
about communication.
Yes, I would say, I would say communication is key in your marriage,
Right,
but
yeah.
what does that mean?
That's too cliche. We couldn't say that.
So I tried to dive down, and I think I would articulate it. Take time to listen to each other, and what I mean by that is, we're having a conversation right here now, right? Like that should be both of you talking and listening back and forth. But oftentimes when someone's talking, if you're talking, I might be thinking of what I'm trying to say next, or what I'm going to go do next, or like, and I'm like, yeah, am I... Why are you smiling like that?
I'm smiling because you said that you're like often doing something else, and really that's me. I'm the one who's like engaged in something else usually. So
I'm like, are you listening?
You're the one who's getting ready to talk and say something else, but I'm the one who's like disengaged doing something else. So.
But that's where like you can hear me, but I wrote it. Take time to listen.
What did you say? I'm just kidding. I got you.
Fell for that. No, because oftentimes when I say, what did I say? You can say it back, correctly, but you have this smirk on your face like, I know the words because I heard the words, but I wasn't really listening to your heart and what you were trying to
I don't know what you said until I regurgitated it back out of my own mouth. So
when you actually take time.
But it is funny.
Yes. Not necessarily, in the moment, only now, but
you laugh at it a lot of times when it happens. Still,
I'm
like
it's
after 18 years, you're laughing at it more now than you did back when we were newlyweds. Back when we were newlyweds, like, it made you mad.
can I have your attention? And you're like, yes, okay. Yeah. So we've had to practice this, right? But that's why I'm like, take time to listen. So much in our relationship that I would think is the same for all marriages is you just need to be heard sometimes. So if I'm expressing myself and you're listening, like you're not trying to one up me or think of something like, oh yeah, I know how you feel. Like you're just there, supportive, listening. But then it would also be nice if when I'm like, whew, I feel better. I feel heard and understood. Now it's your turn. What would you like to share?
Right.
Not just like, I'm the only talker and you're the only listener, or vice versa.
And you have to be aware, though, in most marriages, there's going to be one who's more of a talker. And in our marriage, that's definitely you.
But you're a processor, so don't give you like you're all quiet.
No, you're right. Like I still talk my fair share, don't get me wrong, but you have a lot more words to use than I do.
Vocal,
like exactly. That's just naturally your personality versus mine. Oftentimes that's a male and female thing. I don't know if it's like that in every marriage, but in our marriage that's how it is. But I think that yes, taking that time to listen to your spouse is key, and you may even have to go kind of like this might be like a 3B takeaway here.
Yeah, we never really had 3 points. Here's a list.
You might, in times like that, you might have to ask your spouse, like, do you just want me to let you vent and listen to you? Do you want me to help you figure out a solution to the problem? Do you want me to relate to you? Like, do you want me to like empathize and show you like something that's happened to me, like you may have to ask those questions, and that's okay.
Genuinely,
Because
but yeah.
that's letting your spouse know, like, I'm engaged in helping you through whatever you're talking about today, whether it's a problem or just telling me about your day or whatever. I just want to know how you want me to listen and engage. And if that's just being quiet and listening, that's cool. Stay engaged, stay focused, stay attentive. Don't disengage. But that's just kind of my like 3B tip there. So love it. Great podcast, great episode. Thanks so much for checking out this episode. We will see you next time. Make sure you go check us out on our website, marriagepuzzle.com, and we would love to schedule a discovery call with you and do marriage coaching with you. So if you need help in any of these areas that we talked about today, make sure you reach out to us. We'd be happy to chat and work with you, and go find us on social at Marriage Puzzle. Subscribe to this podcast so you find us next time. See you later.
Bye.